Hi there, this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share our biggest adventure to date, and that was our decision to move from the California Bay Area to the Denver metro area of Colorado. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about why we chose to move, how we got everything from California to Colorado, how much it cost, and then an overview of the last 4 months of our lives and what we've learned about Colorado, what we like, some of the challenges we've had based on our new transition over here, and overall what we think. So here we go. Okay, so why did we move to Colorado? I'm originally from the Oregon coast and I moved to California for college, and so I went to college in the city, and then I spent much of my professional career in the South Bay area. My husband was born and raised in the Bay Area, and so we kind of got to this point with our kids where we thought, I love California, it's great, but what else is out there? What kind of new adventure can we go on? So we decided to sell our house and take a leap of faith. And the reason we chose the Denver metro area of Colorado is that we wanted somewhere that would be close to the mountains, because we do love to ski, we love to hike and camp and, glamping, where you can rent a cabin and a yurt and stuff like that. And we really love those kind of outdoor activities, and we wanted our kids to grow up doing lots of fun outdoor things and not just, living in kind of a concrete jungle sort of experience. So we just went for it and we said, California is always going to be there. If we don't like Colorado, we can always move back. So we started doing our research about different neighborhoods that might work for us, and also how much would it cost for us to move? What kind of financial decision is this going to be for us? So moving halfway across the country is not inexpensive. We made a ton of phone calls to different moving companies, and we also owned 2 vehicles at the time, and so we looked at how much it would cost to have those shipped over. And the quotes we received were somewhere for the moving company to move all of our belongings, which we were living in a 4-bedroom house at the time, and we have 2 kids, so we do have a lot of stuff and a lot of furniture that we didn't want to sell, we wanted to bring with us. So our moving truck, it was actually 2 trucks and a trailer because we have so much stuff, was about $7,500, and that was a little middle to low of the quotes that we received. I would recommend getting insurance though on top of your quote for your movers, because when our movers brought all of our stuff to Colorado, our television was broken and a few other pieces of furniture were scratched. So definitely get the insurance. And when it came to moving our cars, to have them transported, the quotes were around $1,200 a car. So what we decided to do is we decided to sell 1 vehicle, and then my husband drove the second car to Colorado. And what was nice about that is we put a few things in the car, just valuables, things that we didn't want to, grow legs and walk away off of the moving truck somehow, like our safe and some jewelry and things like that. So all of that went with my husband, and he drove to Colorado. It took him about 25 hours, and he met the movers there. And then I took the kids and we flew, and flying from the Bay Area to Colorado is a breeze. It's only a 2-hour flight. So it was really easy for me. Little harder on my husband for sure. But the move itself was not too difficult. The movers that we booked, they packed everything into the trucks, and then they were the same movers who unpacked it on the other end. And so I do think that the price was reasonable considering how much work the movers had to do to get everything ready, kind of packaged up. I packed most of our smaller belongings in boxes, but they wrapped all of the furniture and put that on the truck and brought that to Colorado, and then they unwrapped everything and disposed of all of the garbage, all of the plastic wrap and stuff like that when they left. So that was our moving experience. The movers took a few days to get to Colorado, but that was no big deal because we decided to just wait in California for a few days before we flew out. And so everything was in the house by the time I got there with the kids, which was really nice. So when you're looking at moving out of state, and especially out of the Bay Area or the LA area of California, prices are significantly more reasonable. So we actually decided to buy a home, and it's being built right now. So we thought, how fun would it be to be in a brand new home? And so what we did is actually about 6 months before we moved, we wanted to go out in the winter just to make sure that we could tolerate the winter. So we went out, my husband actually went out twice, and we looked at homes, we looked at different neighborhoods, drove in the snow, and we picked out a planned community where they were building a lot of new homes. And in our heads, we thought, this would be really good because it'll be a lot of other people moving into this community. So hopefully people will be interested in being a little social and making friends. Hopefully they'll have little kids so that our kids and their kids can be friends, instead of moving into more of an established community where maybe the friendships and neighborhood relationships have already been formed. So we picked everything, and then we decided to move a few months later once our kids finished school for the school year. And so we were looking for a short-term rental. And it's kind of tricky to get anything under a 12-month lease. And so what we found was that if you wanted a 9-month or a 6-month lease, you could go to an apartment complex, and they're usually very flexible about those things. But we have so much stuff, and our kids love being outside, that we wanted to rent a house. And so we looked around, and we were kind of coming up short, but what we decided to do is to actually contact people who had 12-month lease rentals advertised and offer them a few more $100s a month if they gave us a shorter contract. And several different houses agreed to this. We picked the one we liked the most in the neighborhood that was sort of close to where we were building our house. And so we ended up we pay right now about $3,300 for a 4-bedroom house that is about 3,000 square feet, and it has an unfinished basement because almost every house in Colorado has a basement. And so it's so much storage that we could put everything, stuff we aren't going to unpack until we get to our house. Put all of that in the basement. You don't have clutter everywhere. You don't fill your garage up with boxes. You can actually park a car in a garage. It's a miracle coming from the Bay Area where that is kind of difficult. And the price for a home like that to rent in the Bay Area would easily be several $1,000s more a month for a 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot brand new home that we were renting, and renting on a 9-month lease instead of a 12-month lease. So the prices for rentals are way more reasonable than the Bay Area, and the prices to buy homes are also more affordable. Now, it's not dirt cheap, so it really depends on what neighborhood you're buying in, who your builder is, kind of the quality of the finishes, or are you buying an already built home, in a really nice neighborhood with really good schools. So you have to kind of do your research on all of that. And we had a checklist of everything we were looking for when we were going to move to the suburbs of Denver. And so we looked at, the scores for the different public schools because we were planning on sending our kids to public school. We wanted a newer neighborhood, so there would be more people kind of transitioning in. That seemed really exciting for us. We wanted to be more in closer proximity to the mountains, so we actually ended up west of Denver where we could be close to the mountains. We could be close to Boulder, which is an awesome city, I guess you can call it a city, in Colorado. It really feels, the downtown feels kind of like downtown Palo Alto or downtown Campbell kind of area. It's really sweet, shopping, all the stuff you could possibly want. And so as a result of that, kind of checking off everything on our list, we are paying a little more than some of the other neighborhoods in the outskirts of Denver, especially if you go to East Denver or South Denver. It is significantly more affordable than west of Denver, but we wanted the neighborhood they were building a brand new school, and we went with a local builder who knew the area quite well, and we felt like the quality of the finishes were something that were really impressive. So for the finished product of our house, it's going to be close to $1 million, but it's going to be about 6,000 square feet, including a finished basement, with all of the appliances we wanted, all of the finishes that we could possibly dream of. And if we bought a house like that in the Bay Area, we'd be paying 4 to 5 times that amount. So it is expensive. Thankfully, we did sell a house in the Bay Area, and so that is helping us to build this new home. And I feel like the quality that we're getting for the price we're paying is definitely worth it in west of Denver suburbs. Some other things that are nice about the Denver metro area is that you have all of the amenities that you're used to from California. You know, they have Costco, they've got gyms, they've got boutique workout places, you know, cycle bar, bar method classes, they've got Lifetime Fitness, you know, the huge gym facility. There's even a SoulCycle that's going to be opening in Denver soon. So, you know, you've got all of the different types of amenities that you're used to in any large, developed urban and suburban area. The only downside is they don't have In-N-Out Burger, so that's a bummer and something my husband is missing. And so whenever we go back to California, he makes sure to wait in the long line at In-N-Out Burger to get his double or whatever it is. But everything else is here, plus some things that we had never heard of before. So, you know, some new restaurants and chains and shopping areas that we didn't have in California, we have now that we're outside of Denver. Now, when it comes to the weather in Colorado, it takes some getting used to. It is very dry, which in the winter I've heard can be hard on your skin, but actually a really good thing when it comes to melting the snow. So, for example, we were told, and we experienced this when we came out to visit, if it snows, it might snow for a day or two, but because it's so dry and because the sun shines 300 days a year, the snow melts really quickly. So you're not sitting in, 4 feet of snow for 2 months like you might in other parts of the United States. But because the weather is so dry and because you are a mile closer to the sun because of the altitude, when you first get here, it takes some getting used to. The first couple of weeks we were here, I would get really tired in the afternoon. Things like walking up one flight of stairs, I'd get a little out of breath. And then when I started exercising, I thought my lungs were going to explode out of my chest. Your body just takes a long time to get used to the altitude and used to the dry air. But when you do, I've heard, say you're a marathon runner or something like that, if you train in altitude, then if you go and run a race, say at sea level, you do really well because your lungs are so powerful. So once you're used to it, it's not a big deal. It does take a few months, especially if you're a really active person, for your lungs to fully acclimate to the altitude. So do be prepared to be a little tired. You might get some headaches and you might feel a little dehydrated, but your body will adjust. And so don't think, you're somehow allergic to Colorado. It's just the altitude. So once you adjust, you'll be fine. And just make sure with the dry weather, have chapstick in every car, purse, bag, and some lotion because you will feel the dryness on your skin and on your lips. Okay, so summers in Colorado, which is what we've experienced, are very different from the Bay Area. The Bay Area hovers around 75, 80 degrees all summer. It's great. A lot of homes don't even have air conditioning because you don't really need it, maybe just 1 or 2 days out of the summer. Well, Colorado's different. It's hot. The average high is about 85 degrees. It does get hotter on certain days. It doesn't really go beyond 100. I think we had 1 day of triple digits. So if you're from Northern California or Eastern California, it'll actually be cooler in the summer in Colorado than it is where you're living now. And so that does take some getting used to, but every house has air conditioning that we were looking at, and if you have a basement, especially a finished basement, those stay really cool because of the surrounding ground, that you can go down there and kind of escape the heat. And also what I really enjoy is that at night the wind tends to pick up and it tends to cool off because you are at a higher altitude. So you're not burning up all day and into the evening. Usually by about 6 o'clock or so, you can open your windows, there's a nice breeze coming in, and so you're not just running your air conditioning 24 hours a day. Now, there are some other interesting things about the weather here that we learned very quickly. Within about the first week that we moved here, we had our first hailstorm. And we learned that you need to park your car in your garage or under some kind of covering, because the hail that came that day, and we actually only had one major hailstorm this summer. Eastern Colorado got a lot of hail this summer. So we had one, and they were the size of golf balls. They were huge. And so we sort of sat on the porch, in from the awning, and just watched with wide eyes as cars were flying down the road, because I think they were trying to get to their garages, and these huge golf ball size hail balls were just coming out of the sky, bouncing off the ground. And now when you walk around, you see cars that have hail damage, and they're just dented all over. And so what I recommend is two things: park in your garage as often as you can, just in case the hailstorm comes, and get comprehensive car insurance that covers hail damage. And depending on the roof on your house, I recommend also having your house be covered. If you just have regular shingles, they can be really damaged in the hail. So get the coverage. It's worth it to pay a little bit more so that you don't have, your car covered in dimples for the duration of, you owning it. But we only had one big hailstorm. We had the rain come off and on. It'll come in sort of these fits and starts where all of a sudden it'll rain and then the rain goes away. And so people say that about the Midwest, that if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes and it'll change. And I do think that is true when it comes to, the rain clouds that roll in and the wind that rolls in sometimes. It usually stops. It's not an all day thing. So it is kind of nice to know that if you're stuck in the rain, it's going to stop pretty soon. So something that we also learned from the locals who live here is that because there's a housing boom in Colorado, Colorado has one of the fastest growing economies in the country, that there's a lot of people moving in. Thousands of people every month are moving to Colorado. We actually haven't met that many natives. Most people are from other states. Surprisingly, not that many from California, but from all over the country, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, they're coming to Colorado. And so the locals are saying that the traffic is really bad, that, there's so many more cars on the road now, and it's really frustrating for them. Coming from the Bay Area, the traffic is a breeze. And even driving through downtown Denver, it's slow, there's traffic, but the cars are actually moving, which I think is kind of a miracle. So I don't mind it too much, and if you plan accordingly, you won't really be dealing with traffic like you can deal with in the Bay Area, in LA. It's nothing like LA traffic. And if you're on the outskirts of Denver and you're not trying to get into Denver, you really don't have much traffic at all. There's some side street traffic and stuff like that, but you can get places in a reasonable amount of time. I don't feel like I'm in my car all day like I did when I lived in California. So it's not so bad. Now, if the housing boom continues and there's more and more people who are spreading out even further outside of Denver, that may change. But right now, the traffic is no problem for those of us who are used to big time coast traffic. Some other interesting perks of living in Colorado is that your taxes are lower here than in California. So property taxes are lower, sales taxes are slightly lower, but it really depends on which county you live in because counties have different taxes. But the property tax is a really big one. Now, if you're living or purchasing in a new development, you actually might have higher taxes that are on the same level as statewide California property taxes. And that's because new developments have temporary taxes in order to pay for the infrastructure to get the development going. But usually those taxes are only put in place for 5 to 10 years and then they're eased back. And so then you go back to the regular property taxes of the rest of the state. So there are some tax benefits of leaving California. Now, What do we love about Colorado? Besides all of the great amenities, we have just been loving the outdoor activities. And so every single weekend we have done some kind of getaway where we'll try to go for an afternoon hike or we'll go away for a night or two. And there's within a 2.5 hour drive, kind of in any direction, you have all of these incredible experiences. There's hiking trails everywhere. There's hiking trails even in the planned communities that connect to other hiking trails and other biking trails. So you can hike and bike all over the place. And if you're not into that kind of thing, if you want to go camping, for example, there's camping everywhere. There's some beautiful lakes that you can go to. You're actually not too far away from Wyoming and Nebraska, so you can actually get out of the state really quickly. And there's so many outdoor activities. So we've been to Grand Lake, we've been to Breckenridge, we've been to Boulder several times. We're trying every weekend to experience something new. And now that the seasons are changing, we've even gone back to a few places that we went to earlier in the summer, and they feel different because it's cooler now, the leaves are changing, and our kids are getting more acclimated to the weather so they can hike for longer, and we are just loving the outdoors. And so if that's something you're interested in, Colorado is 100% the place for you. It's so beautiful, and my husband even decided that he's going to take some ski lessons so he can learn how to ski. He's transitioning from snowboarding, and the mountains here, the snow, the length of the runs compared to if you were to go to, say, Lake Tahoe, the ski runs here are magnificent. So we've actually bought a ski pass that we can use at a lot of different resorts. The skiing for kids, if you're in elementary school in Colorado, if you bring your birth certificate to these various businesses, you'll actually get a free Epic Pass for your kids, which at a bunch of resorts in Colorado, your child can have 4 free lift tickets at each resort. So you could go to Breckenridge 4 times, you could go to Vail 4 times, and your kids are free. So it's this place where they want to encourage a passion for the outdoors, because then when they're adults, they'll be buying the season passes. And it's really awesome because it just gets people out and about. Every weekend you can find a new adventure. You're never going to be bored. Now, I say that without living here for a full winter. So I will check back in a year from now and let you know after our first big winter if we really were skiing every weekend like we hoped to, or if it was just too hard to get up the mountain. We have purchased an all-wheel drive vehicle, so hopefully getting up the mountain, and since the snow doesn't stay for too long, it'll help us in that process. But I'll let you know after the winter how things go when it comes to our outdoor activities. But summer and fall, we are loving it, and this is the place to be if you want to be outside. All right, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments about living in Colorado, if there's any follow-up information that you want to know, please comment below and subscribe to this channel if you want to see all of our fun outdoor adventure weekends that we're up to living in the beautiful state of Colorado. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.